So all that marketing, hullabaloo, and controversy just for a shitty remake of the Stepford Wives.
Although, to be more specific, there already was a shitty remake of The Stepford Wives.
I know, and this is another one. Maybe they just realized they couldn't well, we can't remake it again and also have it be shitty. So let's give it a title change and throw in a dumb third act plot twist. And call it a day. And nobody will be, and no one's gonna realize we just again ripped off the Stepford Wives with slightly different colored paint.
And
anyway.
Well, we'll get into to maybe one or minor distinction when we get into spoilers.
Oh, I'm sure there's plenty of differences, but general concept and plot and beats and all that stuff, it's the Stepford Wives.
Yeah, that's what I said last night when I was leaving my showing was, well, somebody watched the Stepford Wives. Yeah, I don't know if it was the screenwriter or Olivia Wilde, but I got seriously, I got major Stepford Wives vibes from this.
So yeah, this is Don't Worry, Darling, which is the second movie directed by Olivia Wilde, and it has been a very interesting topic of discussion the past couple months. I think
not necessarily for the right reasons.
No, this went from oh, this looks very interesting. I liked Booksmart. This actually looks like a pretty good follow-up.
Yes.
Wait, what's happening? What's going on here? To Jesus Christ, who was in charge here? And now it's come out to just a very resounding meh.
Unfortunately, because I love Booksmart. It's one of
Booksmart is great.
It's one of my favorite movies from 2019. It's a very funny, heartwarming coming of age film, which can be harder to find than you might think, at least ones of quality anyway.
Yeah,
it's hard. So I was very excited to see what Olivia Wilde was going to do next.
And the trailers looked interesting. All right, this seems like a trippy, the mystery drama kind of thing going for it. It looked intriguing until you actually watch it and you realize that oh, that's all it is. It is just a series of trippy visuals with very little interconnecting bits and bobs that again just pretty much rips off the Stepford Wives.
Yes, and towards the end, or actually sprinkled throughout, now that I think about it, there are a few bits and pieces that are just kind of put out there and they're left hanging.
Yeah, there's a few dangling things like we're going to introduce this and then do nothing with it.
Exactly.
I don't know if they're trying to sequel bait or what. This is not getting a sequel.
No, I mean, it did reasonably well for its budget in its opening weekend.
It got beat by Avatar. Again.
I know.
But yeah, I don't know. This movie I was watching, I'm the pieces are there. I should be enjoying this, but I just found myself really bored. I really adore Florence Pugh. I love her. I think she's great.
I really enjoyed her performance,
and she's clearly given it 110%. And I'm and since the movie anchors on her, this should be working more. The visuals are at least look interesting, but the problem is they aren't very interesting. And it took me a long time to figure out why the fuck isn't any of this connecting. And it was really bothering me, and I think I kind of realized it, especially when they got to when they start showing the reason why trippy visuals start happening, is the fact that that's all that happens from that point on. Is just something trippy happens. She goes, "What was that? I'm so confused. This doesn't make sense." Oh, you're fine. You suck it up. Long pause. Another trippy thing happens. Oh my God, what's happening? I'm so confused. Oh, nothing's happening. Something trippy happens, etc., 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 until you get to the third act of the film. And it just gets really repetitive and dry, and you realize after like the fifth time they do this, it's like there's really not a lot of characterization here. And there's an in-universe reason for why that is, but it doesn't make it interesting.
I kind of once the in-universe reason is revealed towards the end, I wanted more of that. I wanted they touch on it and give just enough to barely explain, but I wanted more elaboration on that. Like, how did Harry Styles' character find this? And how? Like, I'm very curious about the in-universe logistics of all this.
Yeah, they don't really go into it, and which is again, I agree, it's probably the most interesting part of the film, and definitely the part that actually the only part that kind of caught my attention because I got pretty bored watching this. And I realized like I was kind of piecing together what was going wrong when like the one scene that did catch my attention was, again, without going into spoilers, this is in the trailer, is the dinner scene between Florence Pugh and Chris Pine. When you actually have like, two charismatic actors actually working off each other in a way that's engaging and not just the same shit over and over.
Yes.
And granted, even that scene kind of overstays its welcome. But like in the beginning,
she didn't get any answers out of him.
It's more like, again, it just didn't go anywhere. It just went to the same destination the last 20 scenes went. And it just like, it doesn't feel like there's any forward momentum. It doesn't feel like there's any character progression. It just feels like just a continuous cycle of frustration. And that's not narratively satisfying. But like at the very least, like at this point, it feels like, okay, something's going on. There are consequences to previous actions. Something is happening. That's not just rampant gaslighting over and over again. Which again, I get that's part of the point. I get that's part of the theme, and I get it goes in a larger theme, like again, misogyny and like mostly just misogyny pretty much. And patriarchy and all that. But
patriarchy, insecure male wish fulfillment.
Yeah, sure. But like again, just because you have that elements in there doesn't mean all the pieces work together. That nothing really fits the way it should, even though all the pieces are there.
I'm not quite sure what was needed to fix it, because it's so close. It's a near miss. There's something in here. I don't know if it's an editing issue or a writing issue.
I'm leaning towards writing. That I don't really think Harry Styles was also the right choice for this role. And he's not bad. He's also just not really captivating either. I certainly don't think he's as bad as a lot of people on the internet say he is, because he can't really do a British accent.
Well, he's British, isn't he?
I don't think so. I could be wrong. I don't know.
Wasn't he like one of the members of One Direction? Or wasn't he like on the X Factor or something, which is a British talent show?
I don't know. I'm just gonna Google it because otherwise I'm gonna look stupid. Okay, no, I'm stupid. He is English. Okay. And I don't know what accent he's doing then, because it's some kind of weird amalgamation. But
well, there might be a reason why it's a weird amalgamation, but guessing that reason would include a spoiler.
Yeah, we'll talk about it because we kind of have to when we get to that point. But yeah, like you're right, and like all the pieces are there. This should work. But I
really wanted it to. I mean,
so did I.
A lot of this is up my alley. Suspense, social commentary. I loved the costumes and the song choices. I really wanted to enjoy the whole ride, not just the last third.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it boils down to the fact that it's just really kind of shallow when you break it down. There it really is not a lot of meat to these characters, not a lot of meat to this writing. Even when they does get to the point, it's so on the nose that it doesn't really feel like you discovered anything. And it's more, you don't really feel connected to anyone. Everyone feels like, and this is where it's tricky because I can recognize also that's part of the point, but it just doesn't work. Is the fact that everyone feels fake except for Florence Pugh, but that also means you have no one else to connect with, and you don't really connect with her because you don't really learn much about her until the third act.
Because apart from her daily routine of being a beautiful, subservient housewife, cooking and cleaning and shopping and having dinner and a drink in hand prepared for her husband Jack, Harry Styles' character, when he gets home from his mysterious top secret job.
Mm-hmm.
Apart from that, she and the other female characters in her neighborhood don't have any personality to them.
No, which is so weird.
They're just these pretty automatons, essentially.
Which again, like, works in something like the Stepford. You know what would save this movie?
What?
Thinking out, like, if they didn't save it for a twist. If they made the reveal right away.
Yeah, like if they showed the process from the start of how Harry Styles' character finds this this place,
mm-hmm.
and what it costs and how they enter. If they showed it from the start, and then the story could be more focused on him keeping.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you there for a second, just because I feel like we've danced around this enough. I think we just need to get into it.
Yeah, so, I'm sorry, I can't go further.
No, like, it's not just you, it's me too. Because I'm also dancing around and I'm realizing at this point we might as well just rip off the Band-Aid. So spoilers from here on out. If you don't want anything spoiled and you really want to go see this, go watch it now. I don't recommend it, but if you're gonna watch it, nothing I say is gonna stop you, so go for it. So yeah. If they started the movie with, by the way, the twist is it's all a simulation, which when I realized that was the twist, I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, it's kind of Matrixy in that way, where their actual bodies are laying on a bed with these like VR sets over their eyes.
Yeah, something like that. I just know, like, I was already annoyed when we got to the twist because I thought it was all like, oh, they got brainwashed and put into this place where they made it look like 1950s Americano. And my first thought was like, of all the movies you could have ripped off, you went with The Village? And then I realized it was a simulation. I was like, oh, that's much worse. That is so much worse.
Yeah, that's why when I left, my major takeaway was, okay, it's Stepford Wives meets The Truman Show.
Except they had to build a set for The Truman Show. That took effort.
Yes.
Like, somebody had to build something. This is like VR glasses, but good, I guess. But yeah, so I'm already annoyed by that twist. But like, again, if they didn't leave that for a third act reveal, if they showed her life as a doctor and her failing relationship with Jack before they even went into this, you would have already had like story and character and drama right off the bat going into this. So you don't have to spend the majority of the movie playing catch up.
The conflict would have been built in from the start, and then instead of the story being about her realizing something's off, the story could have been about her waking up and trying to get her life back, or trying to get out so she can get her life back, instead of it being rushed in the third act.
Yeah, and so that way the otherness feels more distinct. The fact that everyone's kind of like a robot stands out more. and is more interesting. And you know what movie understood that? The Stepford Wives.
Yep. The original one.
The original, the 1970s version. So again, like that movie understood you take someone who's out of this environment, put it into that environment, you feel how weird it feels when they enter it, and that makes the drama of it stand out more. And the also horror of it.
And it also makes the ending more scary when you see the characters stuck in it and you don't see them being their authentic selves.
Yeah, because like the way the movie presents itself now is you have no context for the Florence Pugh's character before she enters the environment, nor her relationship with Jack. And they never really explore the relationship other than the fact they just constantly make out and fuck. Which, by the way, that was also another weird thing that they emphasized in the marketing and in like the interviews and stuff like that, which ended up resulting in fucking nothing.
There were some scenes that I thought were pretty steamy. I mean, I don't know about you, but I haven't seen too many major movies scenes where the woman is enjoying receiving oral sex.
Sure, like that's not a bad thing to have. It's more like it was way overhyped before the movie even came out.
Yes.
Because that whole stupid controversy where Florence Pugh is like, I don't want to be remembered for the sex scenes. I don't really like that's marketed that way. Meanwhile, Olivia Wilde's going like, this movie's sex scenes are so revolutionary. Focus on female pleasure, and it's so many things that just haven't been emphasized, which is not a bad thing if like that's part of the point of the movie, but it's not. It's exactly 2 sex scenes. He initiates both of them. And they kind of like fuck for a minute, and then that's it.
And I think those were put in there as part of Jack's wish fulfillment fantasy, because we catch a very fleeting glimpse of their actual relationship towards the end, where she's come home after working for 30 hours straight, and she's exhausted, and he starts, kissing her neck and wanting to make out and fuck, and she turns him down because she's understandably exhausted. Whereas apparently his fantasy is for her to be ready and at his disposal whenever he wants to fuck. So maybe that's why the sex scenes are the way they are.
I get that's the narrative purpose behind it. It just doesn't match what they were trying to promote it as, and it's not nearly as open of a presence as it was implied to be.
Yeah,
hearing all that
more
drama and controversy, and then seeing the actual result is very much like, wait, that's it? Like that's all we get? Okay, I was promised rampant sex and holiness, and I did not get that. But. Like, no, like, and that actually, what you point out brings you again back to what I'm saying would have fixed the movie, just change the timeline of events, or at least the revealing of events. Because if you had that context and then went into this universe, suddenly the entire tone of that whole sequence changes.
Yes.
And it's suddenly way more interesting, because then it kind of borders on rape at that point. Because it is, which is like, as a narrative concept, as like a patriarchy, male wish fulfillment, misogynist tale, is like, I don't want to say it's much more like captivating, but at the very least, it feels like you're saying something.
It's much more
relevant to what they're trying to do.
Yes, and it strikes a more disturbing chord, which is what you want with this, the kind of thriller that this was trying feebly to be.
Yeah, and granted, I'm not saying you should have I'm not saying like adding rape in movies makes things more interesting.
No, of course not.
I want to make sure that's clear. That's not taken out of context.
All of the women in this simulation that have basically had their agency and autonomy robbed from them, and are being stuck in this place by their various, we presume, partners.
Yeah.
They are, in a sense, being robbed of their waking lives and raped.
Which would have made Olivia Wilde's character so much more interesting. Because then, like, okay, if we have that context now, we know something's off from the get-go. Or at least we know why something's off from the get-go. Suddenly the fact that she chose this also becomes way more interesting.
Yes.
instead of what ultimately is, which is a nothing reveal at the end that doesn't really go anywhere, and just kind of dissipates just as quickly. And there's also that twist with Chris Pine's character towards the end where he gets stabbed by his wife, and then says, "I'm gonna take over." Then nothing happens with that either. So that also goes
Yeah,
nowhere.
that was another disappointing dangling thread that they didn't follow through on.
And also, like, I also found the third act kind of unintentionally hilarious in a lot of ways. As they're doing like the dramatic driving chase scene, and she's running up the hill, and all like the red Oompa
Running
Loompas
up
are all
that
walking around
hill.
alongside her. Because it did just feel like a gritty reboot of Willy Wonka at that point. Like all these like, red
Uh,
coats chasing after her. And I don't
yes.
know, for some reason I just saw taller Oompa Loompas. I don't know why. That just made me I thought of, and it made me laugh to myself as I'm watching this. Like, this is so dumb. Like, this devolved into something so dumb so quickly.
I mean, I did get into that sequence because I really wanted her to get out and
Sure.
and
Totally.
and away from these psychos, but yes, it there is an element of the absurd in
Yeah.
this.
And it just and again, so much more is like this movie works so much better if you just change the order of things. It really does.
Yeah.
Because like then like but it feels like it's trying to substitute character development and character relationships with just trippy visuals and hoping you won't notice how shallow the script is. Like every now and again just got to like, oh look, this more eye shit. There's circles now. They're like, yay, that's happening. Did you forget the fact these characters are shallow as fuck? We hope you do, because here's another sequence of trippy shit happening, probably involving the same shots we used earlier. So, I don't know. At a certain point, I just feel like my time was being wasted watching this. And it was very frustrating because I want to like it. Like the cinematography does look gorgeous. I do like the
Yes.
set design. I like the costume designs.
I like me too, and I also like the song choices to kind of throw us into that uh time period setting. Um, I really wanted to like this movie more than I did. There are parts of it that I like, but it's not as good overall, not nearly as good as Booksmart was.
No, not even close. And like
And
I
I'm
like
probably, unlike Booksmart, which I rewatched recently, I'm probably not going to watch this again.
I'd be shocked if he did. I guess like the one thing I could say, because I feel like of the characters, his was exactly what it was intended to be. I did like Chris Pine. Like
He's
he's
always charismatic.
he's
I love how,
charismatic as fuck, and he was great as like this weird cult leader. And I was like, okay, this is a
yeah,
character that from beginning to end is exactly what the film intends him to be. And Chris
yes.
Pine has a great time hamming it up.
Yes, I liked him. I I did not like Harry Styles' dance number.
Yeah,
It
that
it
was weird.
it it,
Uh,
it kind of looked like he was a puppet on a string, and I just wanted him to stop because he looked like he was crazy.
I I think and I'm willing to bet that's probably the intent. Like when I got it, it was like, okay, I get it. We're doing dance monkey dance.
Yes,
Like it's very obvious, very on the nose.
yes.
It would
It's
at the end of the day, even like to me, it just looked silly.
it.
Uh,
There are so many talented choreographers. They could have made that dance look much better than it did.
Ellen, just a silly little man like going woohoo, woohoo, back and forth on
Yes.
stage. And again, and it's supposed to be like an ultra dramatic moment too, because they keep cutting back to that and Florence Pugh losing her shit in the bathroom, which again
And
is one of many Florence Pugh's losing her shit scenes we've seen up to that point. So it doesn't really have the impact it thinks it does.
no, it
Uh,
doesn't. Whenever it cut back to Harry Styles dancing, I just wanted to look away.
it just yeah, that whole sequence was kind of dumb. Um,
And I know that I'm shitting on this movie more than I usually do. I did seek this out. I did want to see it. I did want to like it. There are parts I like about it. It was so close. There
Yeah.
was something here, and I just can't recommend it.
No, and I don't know what happened behind the scenes. Like, who the fuck knows the real story at this point? There's so many conflicting accounts at this point. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter because people are going to forget about this movie in like 2 months, give or take.
Yes,
Which is too bad.
and there are now that fall is on the way. That means Oscar season movies are coming down the pike from the film festivals. We're gonna get a variety of and I'm not trying to knock Olivia Wilde. I want her to be successful as a director, but we're going to get much more critically acclaimed films in the next few months.
More than likely. So yeah, I think it's all I really have to say about this. Was there anything else you wanted to add on to it?
That's about it. Just that I hope that Olivia Wilde does keep directing and that the next script she directs will be more coherent than this one ended up being.
Yeah. I think whatever everyone had to go through to make this fucking movie, it wasn't worth it. Like, that's what, because I don't know, like, who knows the full story, but it sounds like the whole thing was just a clusterfuck from beginning to end, and just a lot of people have just got burnt out, and I don't know, like, nobody seemed happy to promote this movie when time finally came. And it shows in the final product.
Unfortunately, yes, it had potential, but it missed its mark by more than they expected.
Yeah, so I think it's all we got for this. I know me and Muhar checking out Smile and Bro next week.
I I think I may try to see Bros. I'm kind of burnt out on the trailer for Smile, so I will leave you boys to that.
Fair enough. Apparently it's getting good reviews, so we'll see what happens. Either way, so we'll be covering those movies next week. And then I don't know what comes after that. We'll figure it out. Meantime, thank you all for watching. See you next time.